Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Dave's Top 3,000 Songs of the Rock Era. Today I'm up to song number 2161, and that one is Walk of Life by Dire Straits. This one came out in 1985. Here's a picture of the single, and it was also released on their 1985 album, big album, there's international number one, called Brothers in Arms. And here's a picture of Dire Straits around the time they recorded it. We'll get into them in a minute. I'm going to start by featuring a sample of the song Walk of Life and reacting to it. So here it goes.
Here comes Johnny singing goldies, goldies. Big Baba Lula, baby, what I say. Here comes Johnny singing, I got a woman down in the tunnel trying to make it pay. He got the action, he got the motion. Oh yeah, the boy can play. Dedication, devotion, turning all the nighttime into the day. Do the song about a sweet love and moon. They do the song about the night. Really do the walk. Do the walk of life. Yeah, you do the walk of life.
Okay, that's a minute or so of Walk of Life by Dire Straits. I think it's a really good upbeat song of theirs. Very cheerful. And, I just looked this up today. I never really thought too much about the meaning of this song. But apparently, it was inspired by the frontman, Martin Knopfler. I guess one day he was in the subway in London where he lived and he saw a young guitarist in the subway station facing the wall to create a natural echo and playing some music on his own. And there's reference in the song to I guess a guy who's jamming to some music, and he mentions several oldies. He talks about oldies, goldies, and he mentions some 50s classic oldies like I Got a Woman and a couple, I think another one by Ray Charles, What I'd Say, and also Bebop Lulu by, who was that? Forget. um, Gene Vincent, I think. And and it's a very upbeat song, and I like it. And I remember the video for this song. I don't know why. In the video they show all these professional sports athletes. They show some football and basketball and baseball players. I think mostly American ones. I'm not sure why they show him because he doesn't really talk about sports figures in the song, but I guess maybe whoever made the video wanted it to appeal to an American audience. I don't know. But, I like it. I like the message of the song. It's very cheerful. Like the walk of life, it's kind of like, just kind of daily, everyday life, hustle and bustle and how we get through it, I guess by listening to some good music. Just kind of going with the flow, I guess. I think that's what the song's about. It's a good song, I think, and I guess that pretty much says everything I have to say about the song "Walk of Life." It was a big hit of theirs. It went to number seven. I'm gonna go through the hits, but I guess first I'll talk about the band Dire Straits. They were formed in London, England in 1977. They were together a couple times. First, they were together from 77 to 1988 and then I guess they broke up for a while, but then they reunited in 1990 and stayed together till 1995. So they had a pretty long career, and they had a few membership changes over the years, but I guess in 1985, those are the members shown in this picture. That included their founder Mark Knopfler, who was also their lead vocalist, and He played rhythm guitars, and also John Illsley, who was on bass and backing vocals, Alan Clark on keyboards, Guy Fletcher on keyboards and backing vocals, Terry Williams on drums, and finally Jackie Soni on rhythm guitar and backing vocals. So that was Dire Straits in 1985, kind of the peak of their career, I'd say. And now I'm just going to go through their hits. So their first Billboard hit was called Sultans of Swing. That one came out in 1978. That one went all the way to number 4. And then they followed that up in the following year, 1979, with Lady Writer, which went to number 45. Skate Away in 1980, which went to 58. In 1982, they had a song called Industrial Disease, which went to number 75. And then 1985, I think that was really their breakthrough year. That's when they came up with the album Brothers in Arms, and that one generated 3 hit singles. The first was called So Far Away. That one went to number 19. And then they had their only number 1 hit, really great song called Money for Nothing. That was coming up much, much higher on my list, by the way. You guys are probably familiar with that song. It's kind of a spoof on MTV. Pretty great song, I'd say, and even a better video. It was one of the most popular videos on MTV, as you can imagine, since they're singing about MTV from the point of view, like I guess a couple guys that work at a retail store. And then finally, their last hit was Walk of Life, the one I'm featuring today, and that one went to number 7. So those were the hits for Dire Straits. Not a lot of hits, but some pretty good ones. And I do have a couple more coming up on the list, pretty high actually. So anyway, I guess that's pretty much everything I have to say about Dire Straits and their hit song "Walk of Life." So thank you for watching. You guys rock, and I'll see you next time. Bye.